Hello, welcome back to part 25 of the Angular Complete series represented by tutorial polls. Two-way data binding or ngModel. We have seen the binding of input and output properties already. If you remember, in input properties, data flow from parent to child, and in the output property, data flow is from child to parent. Also, if you remember, in order to bind an input property, we used square brackets, and for output properties, we used parentheses. In both of these input and output properties, data flow was unidirectional. Either it was flowing from top to bottom or from bottom to top. Now, let's see what is ngModel. Open the URL angular.io/api/forms/ngModel and see from here where it says if you have a one-way binding to ngModel with square syntax, changing the domain model's value in the component class sets the value in the view. If you have a two-way data binding with square bracket and parenthesis syntax, also known as banana in a box syntax, the value in the UI always syncs back to the domain model in your class. Alright, let's jump over to Visual Studio Code and open the user detail component.html. And let's do our initial cleanup. So delete everything except the default generated p tag. Also open user detail component.ts and remove everything from here as well except default CLI generated code. Alright, now go to user detail component.html and add an input of type text box. Now in user detail component.ts type public username :string. Also here type public set username open close parenthesis and open close curly brackets and add an argument with name event of type any, and inside let value equal event.target.value semicolon, and then this dot username equal value. Open user detail component.html and add a p tag above the text box and interpolate username inside. Now in the text box add value attribute and inside interpolate the username. What have we done here? When the user detail component will render on browser, in the text box it will display the value as field what it will get from the username property. We will use the setUsername function but not now. Let's run the application first. Type npm start, press enter and let the application run. Alright, now the application is running and as you can see, text box is rendered but empty. Now let's assign some initial value in the username property. Open the user detail component.ts and type here equal single quote and inside tutorial space poll size value. Save the changes and see. Username value is displayed inside the text box and also inside the p tag. Add hello after tutorial polls. So we are trying to change the value inside the text box. But surprise, value in p tag is not updated. The reason is text box is not updating the value in the username property. Why? Because the interpolation only reads the value and assigns it to the text box, but later did not set the latest text box value to the username property. Now in user detail component.html add another attribute as parenthesis key up. So here we will be binding a key up event and pass the function name setUsername. Also type $event inside which will be passed when calling back the bound function on key up. This $event will hold a reference to the event who is calling back or who is firing. Save the changes and observe the browser and type in the text box and see username is updated with the latest value that we have inside the text box. You see here, just to sync up the value from component to UI and from UI to data model property that is username, we have to write a lot of code. And this is where the ngModel directive helps us. ngModel takes care of two-way data binding. That is, when the data model changes, the view is updated. And when any change happens in the view bound, data model is updated. Alright, let's add ngModel in user detail components text box. Remove key up and value attribute and type here square bracket and ngModel inside. Pass username as a data model. When you omit parentheses, as we have used square brackets only around ngModel here, it will only update the value from the data model to view, and it is considered as one-way data binding because the value will be flowing from component to view. Now add parentheses. So we are saying update the data model, that is username property, when there is any change in the view or from the UI. And this is how preferably ngModel is used for two-way data binding. That is, update view when model changes and update model when view changes. If you save the change and see the browser console, you will see the error. As we have not imported FormsModule yet, let's import the FormsModule in the app module. So open app module TS and type here FormsModule and resolve the reference. Save the changes and observe the browser now. See, our username is displayed in the text box. Now, if you make any change in the text box, the username will always hold the latest value of the text box. Type hello and see, username is changing and also reflecting the p tag. So now we can remove the set username function as that is not more required. Save the changes and see the browser. When changing in text box, username is updating. This is the beauty of ngModel. As we have seen in the definition of ngModel, as it says, creates a form control instance from a domain model and binds it to a form control element. We can access this form control instance in UI by ngModel in a variable. In text box, just say hash my username equals ngModel and then add a p tag and inside interpolate my username dot value. So using hash, you can define runtime variables in the UI. It's equivalent to let my username in TypeScript code. Also, as ngModel holds a control instance reference, assigning here ngModel to my username means we can access ngModel instance or control instance via my username in HTML or in a component class by passing this my username to component. In p tag, we are accessing one of the properties available in the form control instance. Open the URL angular.io/API/forms/form control and see here what all properties available to us from the control instance. See this value property, the one we are using. Click on this and now see here it allows accessing the current value of the control, and that is exactly what we are doing. Moving forward, we will be using more of these properties. Now we know what is a ngModel, what are the uses of ngModel, and there are a couple of properties which we can use to access the control instance via ngModel. Let's not stop here and continue our progress. With that being said, that was it for this video. Thank you and keep watching. Do subscribe the channel to keep getting the updates and latest videos in future. Thank you.